When I first arrived here, I also spent a number of years in the House as some of the other members that are on the committee. And I was surprised, I've been observing the Senate, but I was surprised when I arrived here about, you talk about decisiveness and deliberation, the lack of both. And I think that's really the key issue here, is how we bring accountability back to the institution. And what I want to ask you about in talking about accountability has to do with how hard it is to change the rules. I think, Ms. Sinclair, you at one point in your testimony said if it were easier to change the Senate rules. Well, you know, who made these rules? Why are they here, and who voted on them? One of the remarkable things to me is that of the entire Senate body, when we deal with Rule 22, the last time it was changed was in 1975. So 2 senators were here, Senator Inouye and Senator Leahy, and that's it. The sitting senators. 98 of us had nothing to do with the rules. So if you had rules which could be established with every Congress, every 2 years, as the House does and most legislative bodies around the world, or parliaments do around the world, would you get more accountability? And what I'm referring to there is what I call the constitutional option. In the Constitution of the United States, it says each House may determine the rules of its proceedings. 3 vice presidents as presiding officers have ruled that at the beginning of a Congress, you can, by a majority of vote, adopt the rules. And so if we proceed at the beginning of the 112th Congress, which I intend to do, I'm going to offer a motion to adopt rules for the 112th Congress on the first day. Wouldn't you think, if we had a tradition of adopting rules every 2 years, that would bring accountability to the system more than anything? Because each side would know if you really abuse the rules, you're going to have the possibility they're going to be changed in 2 years. Please, any of the witnesses would like to answer.
I think that that is by far the most likely way of being able to change the rules without doing, serious damage to the institution, to essentially reverse that precedent of whether it's the rule, the Senate is a continuing body. And it would certainly provide a certain amount of flexibility. And, in the end, I think one of the real problems is that with supermajorities required for just about everything, it does make it hard for the public to get, to hold, anybody accountable for what does or doesn't get done. You cannot expect people, who have to work and take care of the kids and all that sort of stuff to become experts in Senate procedure. And so there is that kind of a pox on all of you sort of sentiment when it seems that the Senate can't function.
Mr. Cogar?
Well, Senator Udall, the part I liked about the standing body strategy in the mid-20th century was that it was an effort to force a critical vote on a parliamentary ruling about whether or not that would, if the reformers won, it would promote their effort to change the rules of the Senate. I think one of the problems they ran into is that when they put themselves in a box of saying we can only do this at the beginning of a Congress, and that then limited them, all right? What if their real incentive to change the rules happened in the middle of the Congress, and that's when they got really angry? Well, then they'd have to wait. And then often there were things to be done at the beginning of a Congress that then butted up against their effort to have a long, prolonged debate about the rules. So as Dr. Gregory Walrow mentioned earlier, I hold the view that if you have a committed and creative majority of senators willing to go to the floor of the Senate and vote for, the right parliamentary rulings, you can do that any day. And I wouldn't necessarily constrain yourself to the first few days of Congress.
Udall's been sort of pushing this idea for a long time. Senator Bennett and I talked about, and it's very relevant to the question that Tom asked and you answered, Professor Koger, is this different than the moments with Bill Frist and the nuclear option? And the one big difference, if it makes a difference, is this was the nuclear option was attempted in the middle of session. And at least it's my reading, and now I've read a lot on this, and I'll be reading more, that if and we've had a hearing on this, but if there's a conflict between the two-thirds rule and the constitutional provision that the Senate shall make its own rules, the only time, in my judgment, and I guess I disagree with you, and I think Tom is of the agreement with me, I'm not sure of this, the only time where the constitutional provision might trump the Senate rule is in between sessions of Congress, because it's awfully hard to do otherwise, because you have an ongoing rule in the middle of session, but you don't necessarily have an ongoing rule, although I know the way the rule was constructed, it almost goes in perpetuity. But that's a debate we'll be having, and it's a fundamental question that we're going to have to address. And I have to say this, there's even division within our own caucus about this. So it's going to be something that's going to take a lot of work and a lot of thought. And I just wanted to say before I call on Cart that Ms. Rybicki's many questions, and it is true, we ask you a question and we get 5 back, and that's good, shows how difficult this is and how much thought it all involves. Not just thought, but there may be unintended consequences as well if you don't think it through very carefully.